Alright, so in this training, we're going to be discussing the education flywheel model, and I've used this model successfully through numerous businesses to help scale service-based sales teams without wasting time and money and eliminating revenue leaks through the system. So why are businesses struggling to scale sales? Simply because the way buyers buy has changed. It's not 1980 anymore, it's not even 2015 anymore. Buyers are way more aware than they've ever been. They've got access to more information. They know how to do that research independently. They have online communities of friends, colleagues, associates that they can reach out to for recommendations and support and insights. And they simply expect more from companies as well. If companies are hiding information that they see crucial to helping them make a buying decision, then they won't even engage in a buying process. So the power dynamic has flipped. The power is no longer with sellers, the power is with the buyers. So we now need to build buying journeys that support this change and collaborate with buyers, not build selling processes so that we can sell to them, but support them on how to buy. So companies that are not adopting this are seeing decreasing conversion rates, they're seeing rising cost per acquisitions, longer sales cycles than ever. We're seeing that across all data reports at the moment, shrinking profit margins, and above all else, misaligned revenue departments, causing friction between marketing, sales, and customer success, which is creating internal battles that in turn results in staff churn and cultural issues within the revenue departments. So slick scripts aren't cutting it anymore. Having the magical phrase or this magical tonality is not going to get you across the line these days. There's no silver bullet ad strategy where you can press some targeting buttons in the back of the account and all of a sudden sales are just going to come falling through the window. It just doesn't work that way anymore. There is a fundamental infrastructure breakdown with how many companies sell today. So in this session, we're going to be discussing a model to turn all this around and build a proper infrastructure. So why listen to me? I don't want to spend 10 minutes going on about my background, but worked with quite a number of companies now, multiple dozens of companies to support their go-to-market motions, just a handful of the results that we've achieved, taking companies from 0 to 6, 7, and even 8 figures with this sort of go-to-market approach. Now, obviously, there are many other elements to business as well, so all of this success is not just down to the go-to-market approach, but obviously it's a critical function for the business. So when it comes to marketing and sales and getting good conversations, good prospects, and high conversion rates, I've got a fairly good track record at this stage. And it's because I learned early on that the standard sales models are broken, and it's destroying business profits and ultimately creating negative buying experiences. In comparison to what we're seeing here at Shapers, where our clients are achieving conversion rates of 70% or higher, we're attaining cheaper cost per acquisitions than they've ever seen, shortened sales cycles. So once a prospect enters pipeline, they're closing at a much faster rate, and we're expanding profit margins on top of that as well. So the companies are able to keep more in their pocket and reinvest it, whether it's in growth or bettering their product, bettering their solution, whatever is most needed at that time, because they're not lighting cash on fire trying to just grow at all costs. So where do businesses go wrong? Simply, they have the wrong mindset around how buyers buy. So the big lie that many companies have been sold and many companies have tried to leverage is that they just need more leads, assuming that all leads are created equal when they're not. It's like saying all people are exactly the same. They're obviously not. So a common formula that's thrown around, whether it's by marketing agencies, head of sales, even some heads of marketing, is we just need to spend X amount of dollars on ads. It's going to get us X amount of leads. That's going to give us X amount of calls, and that's going to give us X amount of sales. And they try and solve that equation for X. Now, there are other variations of that, like number of outbound reps equals the number of outbound calls equals amount of meetings equals X revenue, etc. But all of this fails in the long run. It's called reverse headcount modeling. And the reason it fails is because buyers don't buy linearly. Again, it makes the assumption that all leads are equal. So as long as we just keep getting more of the same people, then we're just going to keep getting the same results, right? But markets aren't fractal, meaning that just because a pocket of people really resonate with a certain message doesn't mean a wider audience is going to resonate with that same message. The wider we broadcast the message, the more diluted that audience is going to be, because there's going to be a different mix of desires, personas, awareness levels, and all the things we're going to go into today. Now, just to give a crude example, obviously it's much more complex and nuanced than this, so excuse the simplicity of how I've distilled this down. But just to give a really simple example of a possible buying journey, a buyer doesn't just wake up one day, see an ad and go, oh, that looks cool, I'll buy it. unless it's like a $1 or $2 knickknack that they're just like, oh, looks like a cool little gimmick, I'll buy that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about high-end professional services. We're selling services that are going to be in the multiple thousands of dollars, which isn't a decision a buyer is going to take lightly. They're not just going to buy it off a whim. But most attribution models are built to assume that, especially last-click attribution. For example, if this was, say, a sample buying journey of a particular individual, they may have seen one ad from our company, then visited our Facebook page, may have seen another ad, gone to the website, seen some reels and TikToks, viewed us on YouTube, finally seen a different ad as well, and then they convert here. Last click attribution would have us believe that this ad was responsible for this particular conversion. Now, on paper, quantitatively it is, but qualitatively, we have all of this insight and information that we couldn't necessarily track through that buying journey. So once they've come into our ecosystem, they've engaged with various areas of our ecosystem, creating their own buying journey through the resources that we've created to eventually result in a conversion. This ad was just a lucky thing that got in front of them at the point where they were thinking of, oh yeah, I'm ready to buy or I'm ready to take the next step. So where a lot of companies go wrong is they will then go, oh well, we're putting all this effort into YouTube and our website and TikTok, and none of it's driving any leads. We're not getting any sales from it. We'll cut all that. This ad strategy, maybe it's Google ads, for example, that's where all of our sales are coming from. So we're just going to pump more money into that and we're going to cut all the budget for this. And all of this gets wiped out. Obviously your website's probably not getting wiped out, but all of the rest just gets thrown out the window because this is what the data is telling us is producing all our sales, leads, whatever we're measuring. But the moment we cut all of the rest of it out, the conversions, the sales, etc. on this, all of a sudden start to really drop. And a lot of businesses then get confused by this and like, we just need to pump more money. But what they're not taking into account is the buying journey. Now, I don't have time to go into the solution for this because that's a data modeling challenge. I've got another video elsewhere that goes through this sort of challenge. So if you're interested in that, just go to our website and check that out. But this is the primary challenge that businesses are facing right now, is they can't attribute every single step a buyer is taking. So they get so caught up in quantitative analysis that they forget about the qualitative side of looking at how buyers are actually buying, speaking to buyers, speaking to sales, getting those feedback loops happening across the sales cycle so that you can establish where demand is being created, what activities are we doing that is creating demand, capturing demand, and then converting that demand. Now that you know that buyers don't buy linearly and there's obviously a buying journey that does take place, we also need to understand market dynamics. Not every potential buyer in our market is at the same stage in their personal buying journey. So that means their personal stage of awareness. Now, this is a representation of the buyer's pyramid. It's a principle that's been around for decades. Don't know who originally came out with it. I've seen Chet Holmes, Eugene Sports, or a lot of old school marketers talking about this. And obviously these numbers are arbitrary. They're just numbers that suit the scenario. But based on studies and research, they're relatively accurate. Maybe you give 1-2% either way, but they're relatively accurate based on a lot of studies that are done. So the top of the market is people who are in market now. So the top of this pyramid. So we've got the 3% here that are ready to buy, the 7% that are solution aware and possibly open to buying, 30% that are problem aware but aren't really looking for solutions right now, 30% that are problem unaware but they do have the problem, and then 30% that don't care. So what does this look like when we break it down? Let's say your target market was HR managers, for example. Now, there will be 30% at the bottom that just don't need what you've got. They've either got it solved, they don't care about it, it's not a priority to them, it's just not something that's even crossing their mind. Then there's going to be 30% that have the problem that you solve, but they are unaware that they have that problem. So they're going to need some educating to become aware that they have that problem. Then there's going to be 30% that are problem aware but don't know that there are solutions that exist or just aren't aware of any solutions that can possibly solve that for them. 7% that are aware of solutions and open to buying, but it's not necessarily urgent, they're still shopping around. And then 3% that are actively looking for a solution right now, they're lining up vendors to possibly buy from. Now for most companies, all of their marketing efforts go to this 3%. And obviously it's going to be the most competitive because that's where everyone wants, it's where everyone puts their message to. But also these are going to be the most aware prospects as well, meaning they've probably narrowed their search down to 2, 3, 5 vendors and they're just making a choice between them. They may have already chosen a vendor and then they're just throwing other ones into the hat to compare price and stuff. But if you're coming into a buying conversation at this stage and you haven't participated in any of these other stages with the buyer, you're already too late to the party, because there's going to be other vendors that have participated on the way up for that particular prospect, and you're just coming in unless you have something that makes your offer so unique that it's unbeatable compared to the others, meaning you're relying on your product to be supremely superior to the other products to actually try and win that business, then you have no hope in hell of winning that business, because they're just bringing you in to maybe use you as leverage to try and get a cheaper price with their preferred vendor, or they've just been set a quota to speak to X amount of different vendors and you're just filling that quota for them. They're not actually seriously considering your product at this stage, if again this is the stage that you've entered the market. Different if you're a market leader, but market leaders are few and far between. There's not many of them, so if you're watching this, assuming you're probably not the top of a market like a Salesforce or something like that. So understanding this pyramid, I break it down into 5 stages of awareness that we need to distribute content and education to move people up the pyramid. So we have stage 1, which is the unaware group, and that unaware group, we've got to move them through all stages. So we've got to move them from unaware to problem aware to solution aware, product aware, and then buyer aware. Stage 2, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, buyer aware. Stage 3, solution aware, product aware, buyer aware. Stage 4, product aware, buyer aware, and stage 5, buyer aware. So how would this look in, say, an ads campaign? If you are speaking to a stage 1 audience, then you are speaking to very wide desires. For example, if you're in the fitness industry, you might be talking about a broad topic like, should you eat carbs at night? Now, that's obviously not talking about your product specifically. Your audience is probably going to be a very mixed bag of who gets attracted to that particular message, because we're just trying to tap into the widest market possible, the unaware market. And then in that content piece, we move them to problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and then possibly buyer aware as well, depending on the strategy. Stage 2 level content, we then start to dive into specific problems, such as, if we continue with the fitness example, strategies to deal with stress. Stress could be a big problem that someone is facing, and then we move them through the stages from there. Solution aware is where we are then starting to educate people to buy. So we are starting to speak about how you choose the perfect fitness plan, the perfect nutrition plan for you, etc., and then make them aware of our product and what we have to offer. And then stage 4 is typically direct core offers and presenting our particular offer. And stage 5 is just, hey, this is what we sell. This is what we do. So these are the different stages of awareness that we work within when creating our marketing campaigns. Now, where a lot of businesses go wrong is they will push a stage 5 message to a stage 1 audience. And they wonder why it works really well at an initial stage and then it gets worse and worse and worse the bigger they get. I've seen this over and over again. The first company I ever worked for had this exact problem and they ended up going out of business because they would scale up, the message would get diluted, they would struggle to make sales, they'd have to scale back down, then things would get momentum again and they'd scale back up, and they went through this cycle and cycle because they kept mismatching messaging to the audience that they were actually going after. Now, to match the right message to the right audience, we need to understand who we're speaking to. So if we've got the total addressable market here, let's use HR managers again as another example. Inside this total addressable market, there's going to be specific desires. For example, the HR manager might have a desire to build a healthier workforce because they've noticed that their productivity, the amount of sick days that are happening within the company, etc., are higher than what they've seen in averages elsewhere, just as an example. So that could be desire 1, but within this total addressable market, there's going to be multiple desires that those HR managers are going to have. So just using that one example, within that desire for a healthier workforce, there's going to be multiple personas. So there's going to be HR managers that are working at 5,000 person publicly listed companies. And then there's going to be HR managers that are working at sub 10 million startups with 50 staff. So they're going to have very different needs because they are very different personas. Then inside those personas is going to be the different awareness stages. So we're going to have, for example, the 5,000 company publicly listed HR manager that is unaware of the problem. We're going to have the ones that are problem aware, the ones that are solution aware, the ones that are product aware, and the ones that are ready to buy. So within a market, there's so many subsections that if we blanket the same message to all of these, we're obviously going to hit a few, but we're going to miss a lot. And what we're looking for is the winning combination of the desires, the personas, and the awareness stages that are going to see our business move forward. Now, how we solve this is with the educational flywheel. So how that looks is you will first start to build a layer 1 audience. That is leveraging stage 1 content, stage 2 content, and stage 3 content. So content that is speaking to unaware audiences, content that is speaking to problem-aware audiences, and content that is speaking to solution-aware audiences. Where this is getting distributed, it could be through organic, it could be through paid advertising on LinkedIn, it could be on YouTube, it could be Facebook, it could be running events. However it is that we're distributing this content, primarily through digital strategies with us, we're looking to get that message out to our total addressable market with a particular desire and persona being targeted, then addressing the different awareness stages within that content. From there, it is all going to be driving towards a particular hero offer. That hero offer could be a workshop, could be a download, it could be a challenge, it could be a freemium offer. Whatever it is an easy, low barrier to entry offer that does not then initiate a sales process. So we're not driving this to create sales leads. We're driving this to build an audience. So one, this needs to be good because we're trying to obviously build trust with this audience that's being created. But we're building this audience so that then we can retarget that audience with our stage 4 and stage 5 content, our direct offers. Now for us, we primarily do this through Meta or Facebook/Instagram, and we leverage video-based content in these top layers. 2 reasons for that. 1, it can be more engaging, plus we can demonstrate a clearer message. But 2, from a retargeting perspective, obviously with the iOS updates and continued cookie tracking limitations, the ability to retarget just through the pixel is getting more and more limited as the months go on. Whereas if we're using video content, we can retarget based on video engagement, which happens in-app. So as long as the account is engaging with our videos, then we can still retarget that account. So by creating these different stages of awareness content, we're gonna not only open up to an unaware market, which is the widest market, because it's going to appeal to everyone that sits within that particular desire, but we're going to tap into people who are ready to move faster, that are problem aware or solution aware. Then from there, we're going to be putting direct offers in front of them through a retargeting layer, our layer 2. So direct offers for whatever your primary core offer is. So stage 4 content will be more focused on educating on why you're the superior choice. Stage 5 content is more direct. So, hey, we're looking for 5 people to do X. For a limited time only, we have this available, etc., etc. So from there, we direct them to the core offer, and that's when we initiate a sales mechanism. That's when we bring the sales team into play. So we're not sending sales a bunch of leads that have not indicated any buying interest at all. They've engaged and shown that they have interest in the topics that we talk about, but they haven't indicated any buying intent. So we're building value, building an audience that is engaged and inside of our ecosystem so that once they come in, they get saturated with value from us. Then as a result, they're going to start to see our direct offers. And if they're in a position where they are looking for a solution, obviously we're probably going to be one of the ones that they're going to at least show some interest with, because we initiated that conversation early in their buying journey, whether they were unaware, problem aware, solution aware, or any of the other awareness levels. We tapped into that with value. We led the conversation with education, showing them how they can solve their problems, providing value with insights and resources and things that they can do to solve the problem internally or solve variations of that problem. So as they move down their buying journey and go from out of market to in market, we're one of the first names that comes to mind for them because we've participated in that buying journey from an early stage. And then we add an additional 3rd layer just with social proof that retargets this whole ecosystem just with testimonials, case studies, stories, etc. And they can be driving to websites or to social channels, wherever you're trying to build your primary audience. So this is the educational flywheel concept. So how we generally like to start with this is with social media. So I'll jump into an account where we've started to initiate this process so you can see it from an early stage and how it's starting to come together. So here we can see inside an account of one of our clients who's just started implementing this. So we're starting at a small budget to get this system underway for them. Obviously blurring them out for privacy reasons. But what you can see here is the 3 layers in effect. So we have initially the educational flywheel going, where we have those stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 layers of content all built into this ad set. Now, the objective isn't necessarily for us to drive leads, although we will consider that as a data point to obviously semi-optimize for. But what we're primarily trying to drive is our video views. So we want to have reasonable hook rates and good hold rates. So our minimum base level hook rate is 30%. We want to be hitting above that. So as you can see, some of these are definitely performing really well there. We want to have hold rates above 10%. Now these two we can't really take into account because they've not spent that much in the last 30 days. I believe they've only just launched in this account. But if we look at these two that have been running for that little bit longer, obviously our stage 1 content is going to attract the majority of the spend in the account. Why? Because it is the most mass appealing topics that we're speaking about. It's going to get the most engagement. It's going to appeal to the most people. We see that through the lowest CPMs as well. Obviously getting a lot more reach. Link click-through rate's really good. CTR all solid. But we're getting a good hook rate on the videos and good hold rate as well. Now, again, we're not necessarily over-indexing or optimizing for leads. We still want to acquire these, not for the purpose of enrolling into sales systems, but for the purpose of providing more value to this audience that is being built. So these people that are opting in are getting valuable resources from this company that is helping them on their journey. Again, so that as they move through the stages of awareness, we're the first brand that comes to mind for them. But our priority is getting good video engagement because that's what's going to allow us to retarget this audience with a layer 2 campaign. So as you can see here for this particular brand, they've got female and male. So the female one is only just starting a bit slower, but the male, as you can see, the messaging has found its place. It's only spending $8 a day, but from this, it's converted. Out of these, 7 of these have become clients already. So the conversion rate is extremely high because we're running direct messaging. So we're using different creative formats. We've got infographics, news release, we've got videos, stage 4, 3, 4, and we'll have some stage 4, 5 coming. We've got organic type content in here as well. And then stage 3 is mixture of educational content and testimonials. And layer 3 is a mixture of educational content and primarily testimonials. So as you can see, we're driving website visits for, on average, 28 cents, which when we look at the cost per click on Google for this particular brand in their area, the average cost per click on Google is $4 to $5. And that's if their quality score is high on Google. If not, you're going to be paying more. Whereas we're getting these site visits for 28 cents, and this has only been running, for less than 30 days. So obviously this is a 30-day window. It's only just started. So you can see obviously the low budgets, but the reason I wanted to show this account, one, because I wanted to showcase an account that has only just started to implement this and how the structure has started to come together, but also that you don't need to start it with a monstrous budget. You don't need to start it with thousands and thousands of dollars. We started this at $30, we bumped it to $40 now recently in the last couple of days. We've had a reach of just over 8,000 people, so that's an 8,000 audience, but it's an engaged audience. It's people who are obviously showing interest in the videos, showing interest in what it is that we speak about, the philosophies, the mission of the business, etc. Then we're hitting those with direct offers, and the female one hasn't taken up as quickly yet, but the male one took up very quickly, and that's ready to start climbing. So obviously that's been running for maybe a bit over 10 days, and we've had 9 leads, 7 of which have become sales already. So although this isn't an example of an account that's, say, spending tens of thousands a day, I thought it would be a good example to share just so that you can see that you don't need to start this with a monstrous budget to get a good return on investment. The average contract value of a client for this company is $800. So if we exclude some of these direct response campaigns that we're running whilst these were starting in the last 30 days, so we've ran $550, $138 on the layer 3, so roughly $680. Then we've got 85 there, so 765, then 50, so about a bit over $800, and we've returned 7 clients. So we've got a 7 return on investment just on this. But what we've also seen, and as a side benefit to running this strategy, is a heap of inbound website inquiries starting to come through as well. So in the last 2 weeks, for example, there's been 13 sales come from website inquiries that in the sales discussions have indicated that they saw our videos, saw those ads running, and that's why they decided to Google the company and look into what it is that we do and book a time to come speak to us. So even though direct on paper, again, quantitatively, this has returned a 7 times ROAS or return on investment, but I don't really like that as a metric. Overall, this has contributed based on quantitative and qualitative data to over 20 odd sales in the last 2 to 3 weeks, all off just $800 or so in spend. So I hope you can see the power in this structure when you create these layers, because it enables you to be omnipresent. So who cares if the conversions come from the ads? Who cares if they come from the website, if they come from a direct phone call to the company? Wherever the sales process is, we're trying to drive the ecosystem forward, not attribute towards specific channel-based results, but drive the ecosystem as a whole forward. Are we seeing more meetings booked as a whole? Are we getting better conversion rates? Are we closing more sales? Are we getting better retention on those sales? Is the LTV of those sales increase, or the contract value of those sales increasing? If all of those numbers are trending up, then we're doing something right. We put more money into this engine. If those metrics start to trend the other way, then we know something is not right and we don't put more money into the engine. So it's more than just equating to, as I mentioned before, X dollars in, X leads, X calls, X sales. This is how can we educate our market and build an ecosystem that once someone comes in, we become the top of mind choice for them when they decide to go in market, not how can we force square pegs into round holes. So we'll jump back to the slides now. Cool. So I hope you're starting to see the power of how this system can really drive not only more revenue, better conversions, more efficient sales processes, etc., but just simply a better buying experience for your buyers, which leads to better brand affinity, better retention rates, all these secondary or qualitative returns that you can't necessarily always track through direct numbers, but from feedback from clients, from sellers, from marketers, etc., for the ones that have implemented this system, we're seeing all of these qualitative insights improve as well as the quantitative that you can see here. The average conversion rates we see across clients is 70% and higher. The average contract value is increasing by at least 36%. The retention rates are going through the roof. The retention on clients, that is, to 90% plus. LTVs increasing by a minimum of 41%, so we're getting more from every sale because there's a more educated buyer coming out the other side. The profit margins are going through the roof for a lot of our clients because they're not spending so much to acquire a client at this stage. Pipeline velocity reducing by weeks, not days, because when someone enters pipeline, they're already educated to the point of being at least solution aware or product aware, versus trying to jam unaware and problem aware people into pipeline, which is then resulting in increased sales team productivity and sales team retention as well, because they're making more sales, they're enjoying their job that little bit more. So if you want to find out more about how we do this, obviously there's probably a link somewhere below or somewhere on this page that you can inquire to hear a little bit more about what we do. Obviously jump into more resources if you want to get a little bit more of a wider spectrum of the sort of solutions we help companies provide. There will also be some resources that you can grab below as well somewhere that will help you implement this on your own, so that when you get to the point where you want to outsource this and not have the burden of doing it yourself, then we can obviously step in and take over that for you. So wherever you're at in your personal journey, in your buying journey, in your stage of awareness, hopefully you've got some value from this. Reach out, let us know if there's anything else we can help with or anything that we can possibly improve or clarify from this training. Otherwise, all the best, and go out there and build better buying experiences.